Great to have you with us on Prime Biz. The banking sector in Switzerland now is trying to make itself over. It wants to move from a reputation of keeping things secret, protecting the old guard, to becoming a transparent and vibrant financial sector. Banque Sys says it's an example of that transformation. It's a small Swiss bank and now employing 500 people. It has moved into South America and Africa. In South Africa, the bank has a local representative and small office. Well, Eric Seitz is the majority shareholder and CEO of Banque Sys, and he joins us in studio. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So Swiss banking here certainly still is so associated with secrecy. I can't even imagine what else people need a Swiss bank account for.
Well, that's the traditional way of looking at Swiss banks. I think in today's world, where there's a lot of transparency, that the Swiss banks really have positioned themselves with this transparency issue in a very different light, in the sense that they have now opened up to being transparent. And I think the world, the way it's going, is working towards that transparency. And so the Swiss had to adapt. They had no other choice than to adapt.
Well, that was my next question. Was there any voluntary change here, or I guess it had to happen because a whole lot of new rules were coming in. The world was changing.
Well, look, when I came back from the United States in the early 80s, it was very clear to me at that time already that if you didn't have content to compete, you could not just survive by just selling Swiss bank secrecy. It was just a matter of time that this would happen. And I think it came fast and people would anticipate after the crisis of 2008. And so some people were taken by surprise, but at the end, I think it's for the better. And it also gives people who have access in Switzerland access to their wealth. Hiding wealth doesn't make a lot of sense if you can't get access. Why hide it if you can't get access?
So I want to talk about your involvement in South Africa, but you're not only involved in Swiss banking, but managing hedge funds that were once also blamed for all the world's financial woes. What does responsible investing mean for you as a banker?
Well, look, responsible investing for us as a bank is we have to take care of our clients' money. And the first and foremost, what we do is preserve their assets, and then we have to make those assets grow in a reasonable way without taking undue risk. And so there was a time when hedge funds was probably a good investment, at least for part of your portfolio, in particular in an environment where we had very high interest rates. Now this environment has completely changed, and hence, hedge funds probably are not as attractive as they used to be.
Okay, but you're still involved, or
well, yes, we're still involved
offering?
with a much smaller scale. I think there's other opportunities, like we have been venturing out to private equity. A lot of people now are much more keen to invest in private equity and are not so scared of the less liquid aspect of private equities.
So if you're trying to expand in South Africa, what makes a Swiss bank, a boutique operation, attractive when we have large, a strong banking sector here and so many global players here, actually?
Well, look, the question really is, why do you want to have money in Switzerland to start with? And I think the reason really is if you're looking to diversify your assets outside of your home country, in particular in an economy which is very vibrant, like the emerging markets, then you would want probably to have money outside, because usually those economies have also certain risk. And to shield some of that risk, you probably want to have money outside of your country. So Switzerland is one of the choices where you can go.
And the stability of Switzerland is still a big selling point.
Well, I think the stability, I think the currency, and then the expertise. Let's not forget that Switzerland is one of the very few countries where you can invest in any currency, in any instrument around the world. Even in America, you probably is going to have a very hard time finding a place where you can actually invest in such a variety of markets as you can in Switzerland.
So even for South African clients, are you a conduit not only to Switzerland but to a whole host of different opportunities?
Sure. I mean, you usually people have their account in Switzerland, and then depending on what their investment horizon is and what their investment focus is, we can invest for them globally around the world in a very stable and secured manner. Also, in a way that they can at any time get access to their money whenever they need it.
Does it work both ways? The rand is one of the most liquid currencies in the world. Is it an advantage to have a footprint here to understand our situation as well for those global investors?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we have a footprint here, we have a footprint in North America, we have a footprint in Latin America. That gives us, of course, better insight into those markets for investors who would like to invest in those markets.
So what do you think of South Africa, looking from the outside in?
Well, look, our view from South Africa, I've been coming to this country for 45 years. So I've seen, the transition for the last 45 years, and I think, look, the country, as we have heard before, is going in the right direction. I think there's a lot of opportunities, but there's also a lot of work to be done. And so from on the outside, it is certainly, one of those markets which over time will be attractive also to foreign investors.
And you've had experience on Wall Street. Compare that to Switzerland for us. It sounds like two different worlds, but is it all coming together, I guess?
Well, look, Wall Street is still the most vibrant place for finance in the world. And it's certainly the place where people, are the most active. In Switzerland, I think things have changed very much. And particularly with the weakening of the bank secrecy, and so therefore Switzerland has over the last 10 years certainly gained in vibration, but it is not comparable to Wall Street.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this evening. An interesting discussion.
Thank you for having me.
Sys from Banque Sys. It's spelled Syz. All right, and that's it from